Okay, we are live. It's me again. Hi, everybody. And I'm joined by Paul from Dinenthal. Is that the correct pronunciation?
Dinenthal, that's right, yep.
Okay, and what is a Dinenthal? Where does the name come from? What does it mean?
Well, actually, what it is, it's I mean, it sounds and probably looks a little bit doom and gloom. It came from many years ago when I was online gaming, and I had to pick a name, from a random name generator. And the name it gave me was something horrendous like Rosebud. I'm like, I'm clearly not going to go with that. So I went on and found a Lord of the Rings name generator. So I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings. So that's the route we're going to go down. So I threw my name, I think first name, surname, and probably street into the name generator. And it came up with Dinenthal. I'm not going to stick with that. And it's just stuck ever since. So that's the name I thought we were going to do. So, yeah.
Is it actually from Lord of the Rings, or is it just Lord of the Rings-esque?
Lord of the Rings-esque.
Okay, and has that also come as an influence into your music at all? So let's start off. How do you describe your style? Just black metal, or?
It's black metal. There's hints of. I'm really keen on the sort of the old stories of Northumberland. There's a lot of that comes into it.
Right.
My family originally from Northumberland, so there's an influence there. There's a massive influence of science fiction as well.
Right. Excuse my geography for a second. Excuse my geography. Northumberland, is that Newcastle? Or is that a different part of UK?
It's old Northumberland stretched from the Humber right up into the borders of Scotland, but Northumberland today is just slightly north of Newcastle, right up to the Scottish borders.
Okay.
It's that little part of northeast England. Well, it's quite a big part of northeast England, above Durham.
So you've got history, science fiction, and fantasy.
Fantasy, yeah, definitely a lot of dystopian images of the future and things like that. That's
okay. So that's a bit. So there's no so black metal quite often will pigeonhole itself as satanic black metal or pagan black metal or whatever. You're just like whatever takes your fancy kind of black metal.
Yeah, it is kind of that. There is elements of paganism in there. I am a practicing Norse pagan as well.
Right.
The one thing I steer very clear of is anything sort of socialist, shall we say, and we'll leave it at that. I don't subscribe to that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's just you talk about National Socialist.
Yes.
All right.
None of that. No.
When you said socialist, I thought you meant left wing. You don't scale left wing ideologies or whatever. But you mean National Socialist.
I'm in the right wing. I avoid the right wing. That's not.
Yeah. I get you now. There's just I like for history. It reminds me a bit of what's that other band from up your way? Bloody hell! I was thinking about them the other day, and I've literally gone out of my head now. They're another black metal band. They have like a lot of chants going on. Fucking hell, isn't it typical?
There's a couple up from our way. One of them, the first one that pops into my head is Old Corpse Road.
That's exactly the one I was thinking of. Yeah. They're very much into the local folklore and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Old Corpse Road. I do know. I went to college around the same time as their drummer, and I remember him from college. And they are phenomenal. They are absolutely phenomenal.
They are a good band.
The other band, I don't believe they're still going now, but Warden's Throne.
Okay, I've seen those as well.
Yeah, they're phenomenal as well.
Yeah, they played down in London once, and I think I see him at a gig in Leicester as well. Gathering of the Clans, it was called. But anyway, let's not talk about other bands. Let's talk about your band. So you've had, was it an EP, two singles or one single, is it? And two full-length albums so far?
Yeah, it was. I've had a couple of singles. The first album came out in 2018, December. Inaugural Repository of Desolation. It was just a collection of things that I've been working on pretty much since I formed in 2017. That's when I decided I'm going to do this, and it was very on and off in the beginning. I was fortunate enough to make my own studio space to work in, and just sat and strummed with the guitar. And I didn't really write an awful lot in the beginning, but then it's sort of around the middle of the beginning to the middle of 2018, things started to really like come together. And at the same time, I mean, you know, I'm in Acherontia Sticks as well.
Yeah, I'm talking to them on Thursday.
Yeah, Grant's gonna do that one.
Yeah.
So that had all started again. Grant will go into the history of that on Thursday. But that was all starting to pick up again. And that kind of spurred me on to continue and get this project.
So the two projects fed off each other, kind of thing. It wasn't
yeah.
Right.
Certainly, my music. I mean, while the music styles are very different, certainly it spurred my music, me to start writing more music.
Yeah. So if you're working on music in a band situation, you might have ideas that weren't quite right for the band, but you think, I'll add that for my own. Do you ever do a jam or a gig or so, and you got a really good riff for these fuckers I have, and I'm keeping that for myself?
Yeah,
do you do that?
Pretty much, yeah. Basically, if I start making sort of nasty sounding bar chords, you know, you can see the sort of frowns. No, that's certainly not death metal. Just like, okay, I'll keep that for later.
Yeah, cool.
It's pretty much how it works.
How did you see quite a few one-man bands around now? What is that? Is that like a conscious decision? You don't want to have a band around you. You want to just make it your own project, your own baby?
Not really. I mean, I don't know what the future will hold for sort of Dinenthal. I don't know whether I would quite happy to bring people on board and let other people take a lead in writing even. I just did that at the time. It was literally a spur of the moment decision, and yeah, I'm happy with it sort of being me at the moment.
Yeah.
That's not to say
who knows what happens in the future.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's probably best for everyone to be a one-man band. The way they're thinking coronavirus it's kind of forced it on us all.
Less chance of infection.
Yeah, exactly. So, with the different themes that you do, have you ever done do you sort of just mix the themes up per release, or do you have this album's going to be all science fiction, dystopian stuff? This album's going to be all fantasy. Or you just however the songs come along?
Well, originally the first album it is a little bit of a mix. So there is some hints of old folklore in there. Yeah. Not all Northumbrian, by the way. There's one track called Corrie Reckon that's about a whirlpool in Northumberland. A whirlpool in Scotland. Right. And it's the story. It's called The Hag's Cauldron. It's the story about that, basically.
Right.
Generally,
the folklore behind it, yeah.
Yeah, generally it's a bit of Northumbria, and then there's some tracks that are science fiction based from just trying to remember the name of it. Warhammer 40,000.
Okay.
It's from that kind of background. With the Wayfarer, that's a little bit different. There's a lot more folklore on that from Northumberland. And then
ghost story kind of folklore, or witches and hags and ghoulies.
It's all hags and worms or dragons living around a. There's a track called "The Worm of Bebenberg." That's about a bit like the story of the Lambton Worm.
Yeah,
it's a very similar story. I think there was quite a number of in and around the northeast based on that similar story.
Right.
And then songs like "The Dark Reefs of the Farne Islands." It's sort of you can imagine a stormy night. I used to scuba dive quite a few years ago now, and I've been out there when it's been stormy, and you can. It's just a magical place to be honest. It's wonderful, and that comes into that album as well.
Yeah.
But then there are a number of sort of science fiction elements that came into it as well, and that I kind of started with the focus. This is all going to be Northumberland and folklore, and then I went off on a tangent.
Right.
And added a few other bits in, and then where the science fiction comes in, and then this the one track, "The Wayfarer Sails the Sea of Memory," that came about. My brother-in-law passed away very suddenly in in December. Came to a massive shock to all of us. And it was one of my closest friends.
Oh, sorry to hear that, man.
And it was like somebody, it was like somebody with a hockey stick literally just knocked you off your feet. So my whole writing, I was mid-writing the album at the time. And you sort of, if you look at the structure of the album, you can actually see at one point, it's like, everything goes off in a bit of a tangent, and there's like weird 1970s sort of synth coming into it. I don't know. I mean, I guess at the time I probably,
something was it was influencing you, and especially when shocks like that happen, you don't know how they're going to influence you in all kinds of ways, I suppose. And
absolutely,
that came out in your music.
It did. One interesting thing, certainly from a vocal perspective, is you imagine when you're singing that kind of vocal, it does take the strain on the throat. So I really try not to overdo it, because you don't want to, you don't want to hurt your voice.
No.
Actually, if you listen to that track, there is a point where you go, yeah, that voice is gone. And I did actually. On the Wayfarer Sales to Sea of Memory, I did actually blow my own voice out doing that.
Was that because you was putting a really cathartic scream into it or something like that?
I think so, yeah.
Put everything into it,
it felt good at the time, I'll say that.
Yeah. I wrecked my voice.
Took me a week to get my voice back.
Oh, yeah. Every time I do a gig, I always used to wreck my voice because I wasn't a very good singer, but that's a different matter. So... do you do live gigs? I know you do see a one-man band do live gigs. Is that something you've been able to do yet?
It's something I've not been able to do. It's something I've got no plans to gig, but it's something I would say never say never. If I could convince my bandmates and Acherontia sticks, guys, can you learn my stuff? And maybe we can play that too. No, I wouldn't put them through that. Bless them.
Right. So you'd rather have a band do it rather than be up. Would you be of like confidence to like be up there on your own with backing drums and synths or whatever you use, and then just playing and singing? Would that be something that would be?
I'd need a band. I'd need a full band there behind us. To be fair.
Yeah, fair enough.
Sorry.
So I was going to say, how do you do the recording? Is it you drum machine, or you play drums as well, or how do you do the recording process?
So the drums are done. They're done through a drum processor, but I can play the drums. I wouldn't say I'm a very very good drummer, but I can play.
Yeah.
So I've got a feel for what can be played. So for example, you know for a fact you can hit a tom and a cymbal, but you're not going to be able to hit another cymbal as well. So you haven't got three arms, so it's a case of going through and looking
realistically. Yeah.
Can that be played, or when I finish on that particular cymbal, can I actually make it down to the snare? It's about sort of being realistic with what can be played. So yeah, it is all done through a machine for the drums, but the guitars, bass, synths, and vocals, obviously, I all do myself.
Right.
I've got a home built studio.
How much does that set you back? Is it like a big? Because people could do lots of stuff now from home, can't they? Like even drum machines. Yes. Back in the day when you heard a record of a drum machine, you go, "That's a drum machine." But nowadays you can't necessarily tell unless maybe you're a muso. I don't necessarily still can always tell when it's a drum machine anymore.
Well, it's true, and people have said to me in the past, "Is that a drum machine or is that like real drums?" It's down to what the program I use for drums. I mean, not putting a plug out there, but it's Logic Pro, which is it's an Apple program, and it's about down to what sort of plugins you use. You've got a basic sort of a MIDI drum pattern, and it's down to which plugin you use and how realistic it sounds.
Right.
So
there's different tones, and if you choose the wrong one, it'll sound like a biscuit tin or someone farting in the toilet or something like that. Yeah.
Like custard dripping down a drain pipe.
That's not. I mean, that might be good for like porno grind or something like that, but not so good for black metal, maybe.
Definitely not good for black metal, no. But I mean, the guitars and stuff, that's all done. So I do use an amp. I've got an amp that I use, but I use plugins for that as well now. I've started to move on to those. So it's all, it is the guitar going through a processor, going into the studio, and then using a plugin to get a good tone. You get a really clear tone from a plugin.
Are you the bane of your neighbours when you're recording, or are you able to do it fairly quietly now?
I would say fairly quietly. With for the most part, I can do everything through headphones. The only part that I can't do is the vocals. So they probably hate me when I'm screaming the house down.
Yeah, please come knocking at the door. We've reports of abuse.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody's been murdered in there.
Yeah. Oh well. Okay, so nothing. You're not going to be able to do it live. Then maybe you get a band together. But you just bought. Let's celebrate the most recent release. What's the new one called? I've got them on the wrong page now.
So the current album came out in March. Is The Wayfarer.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mixed bag in terms of the writing. So that there is some Northumberland in there. There's obviously some science fiction in there. And then I've got the track that I basically wrote shortly after my brother-in-law passed away, and then
are the lyrics dedicated to him as well? Are the lyrics?
Yeah, the entire album's dedicated to him. It was back when I first met him. It was before I married my wife. We talked about music, and I can always remember him encouraging me to start and sort of write and record. Because I was in a band. I was in like Acherontiastics, the first incarnation years ago.
Yeah,
and I've been in a couple of other bands, but obviously nothing had come to fruition. And he was the sort of one of the driving forces. Said, dude, you need to pick up your guitar. I've heard you play. You can do this.
Was he in bands himself?
No, he wasn't. No, he was very much a fan of music and very much a fan of film. Right. But no, he didn't play guitar.
Right. I was going to ask about your label, Dwarrowdelf.
Dwarrowdelf Records, yes. It's a friend of mine who has the label. So is
it Dwarrowdelf or Dwarrowdelf?
Dwarrowdelf. It's
Dwarrowdelf. What's that? Basically, what the hell is it? Is what I was really trying to get.
Dwarrowdelf is again another Tolkien Lord of the Rings thing.
Kind of.
So it's in Tolkien's lore, it is the city that the dwarfs live in,
right?
In the mines of Moria, the city of Dwarrowdelf. That's where it comes from. So it's
right. Okay.
There's quite a collection of us up here that are massive Lord of the Rings fans.
No, there's heavy metal. There's loads of Lord of the Rings related stuff. Count Grishnak, because that came from the orc from Lord of the Rings, isn't it? Grishnak, old.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. For Count Grishnak,
Varg Vikings. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
I guess one of my podcasts, I did a full theme on Lord of the Rings. Like, there's about 5 bands called Mordor, for example, and Sauron and Saruman. There's even a band named after blinking Gandalf's horse as well. I can't remember. Was it not Shadowfax or something? I can't remember what his horse is called now.
It is Shadowfax, yeah.
Is it Shadowfax?
It is, yeah.
Okay, cool. I just remember thinking, I've always become remembering wrong, but some very occasionally I can get something right.
There's also Amon Amarth as well.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about them. Yeah. What about the sci-fi elements? Where do you get your sci-fi element influences from?
Pretty much from all over the place. I mean, well, Doctor Who. Although none of that's actually made it into my music. I am a massive Doctor Who fan.
You need to do a Doctor Who themed song, because I'm doing a Doctor Who themed show at one point. I'm gradually trying to find songs that fit the themes. If you can record one for the next album, I can put it on there.
I think maybe I should do a cover of Doctor in the TARDIS.
Yeah, why
not? So science fiction. Pretty much. Well, I mean, a little bit of Warhammer 40,000 came into it with the first album. On the second album, quite bizarrely, Battlestar Galactica.
Okay, the original or the new one?
the reimagining, the new one.
Right.
So the Eye of Jupiter, for example, it came from there.
Okay.
And Adrift Between the Galaxies, that was very much Stargate Universe.
Okay. Interesting.
That wonderful series that was cancelled that really annoys me.
Yeah, these are programs I'm vaguely aware of, but I've not actually got around to watching them. I don't watch TV like I used to. Like it's hard to even know what bloody channel stuff's on, to be honest. But
streaming, that's the way forward.
No, but finding what stream to go on, I just give up. I just do YouTube now instead. How about this is something I'm passionate about? Superheroes, comic books. Is that of any interest to you?
Comic books? They been? Yeah, definitely. There's a sort of a bit of a running gag between me and one of my friends. He always says, whenever he's like ill or really hungover, oh, don't worry about me, I'm Superman. So my response to always that is, yeah, but I'm Iron Man. I know it's two different comic book genres, two different, ones.
Marvel, one's DC.
Marvel, yeah, exactly. But still, I'm Iron Man. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay. Well, Iron Man was an alcoholic quite a lot in the comic book. So is that the best one to is that the best one to use?
Potentially. No, this is only orange.
I should have brought a drink for myself. Actually, I'm not organised. So that's pretty recent. So what's it like with sales and that? Is sales a thing that bands bother about that much anymore? Because very few bands make it huge. So it's
that's right. Yeah, that's
right. A lot
right.
of bands just want to get the music out there sometimes, I
think what we're looking at now is it's the biggest change that's happened in music, probably ever. We're starting to move away from physical releases, which annoys me. It is terrible.
Yeah.
But we're moving into a streaming situation, so we don't, artists now, we're not seeing the revenues anymore. Certainly not. So, for example, I mean, you would need 50,000 streams. I'm throwing figures out here, so if I'm wrong, somebody please correct me. But it is sort of 50,000 streams, which would equate to probably one T-shirt being sold. So I mean, it is hard on the artists.
Yeah.
But at the same time, from the artist point of view, it's very expensive to get physical releases done. It is something I want to do, badly want to do, is get on vinyl more than anything, is get my albums done on vinyl and getting them sold. But again, it's a gamble. If if I sort of get 500 copies pressed, am I going to sell them?
Hey, you're left with 499. You're going to feel a bit stupid, aren't you? You're like the guy from Creme Brulee, the League of Gentlemen, whatever it is. So I've got a demo.
Exactly. I've got a lot of nice wall art in the house. It was very expensive.
Yeah. Oh, well. So you haven't got any physical copies, like CD copies? Is literally just digital at the moment? Is Dwarrowdelf just the digital?
Yeah, they're looking at predominantly digital at the moment. Although it is, again, it's a case of getting some revenue in. I mean, I spoke recently. And it's a case of getting enough revenue in to start and build, because the label themselves are fairly new as well. I mean, they've only been going for, 2017-ish. So they're, I suspect that's what they'll be trying to do, is get enough revenue to be able to say, okay, yes, we can afford a pressing. Well, I hear cassettes are making a comeback. So
I know, I've seen that as well. I've seen like cassettes. Cassettes were crap back in the day, even.
Yeah,
I don't mind the old demo tapes. I like to have a demo tape from a band, like it's like a cheap ass recording done in their bedroom or whatever. No, that was good to have like demos, but to actually have it as like instead of a CD or a vinyl, it's like it's not really for me, because once they get fucked, they're fucked for good, aren't they? They get unscrewed all the time.
Leah. The best one was leave them in the sun in the car.
Oh, you
go put them in the. It was just like you'd play them in the car, and then the sound would be off. Wonderful. But actually, that's how we got into black metal, was through cassettes.
Okay, I thought you were going to say you one got distorted and it sounded like black metal, and you loved it ever since.
I got into black metal through cassettes. Back at my college days.
Did you take trading or anything like that?
all that went on back in the day, didn't it? And
yeah, I used to tape trading.
Used to get I remember getting a mixtape, and it was, correct me if, it was Emperor. Right. That was the first black metal, because back in my college days, a long time ago now. I mean, we're talking 96, so I mean that is a long time ago. I remember I was massively into Megadeth, Metallica, Pantera, Sepultura, and I just started to really discover the death metal bands like Cannibal Corpse. And then somebody handed me this mixtape. I forget who it was now. And on it was Emperor. And I was like, that is just beyond beautiful. That is and I remember managing to get hold of Emperor's music on vinyl. And just been absolutely blown away. It's stuck ever since.
So were they the main band that you think you take your influence for your own music, or? Definitely Emperor. There's a lot of Emperor in there. Controversial as they are, Mayhem. I do actually, but then as sort of black metal itself evolved, I really dig the atmospheric black metal bands like Wolves in the Throne Room are absolutely phenomenal. They call it shoegaze now, don't they?
Yeah, shoegaze, something like that. Yeah. It's absolutely that sort of sorrowful atmospheric black metal is absolutely
makes you drift off into the vibe kind of thing. Yeah.
It does, absolutely.
I can get that from all sorts of metal. I could drift off into like a pounding death metal. Right? I mean, I'm being bombarded with the beats. I'm like, it's like Zen.
So that's definitely. I would say that massive influences. The stuff I'm listening to at the moment, sort of from other bands. Trim via Foul. I don't know if you've heard of them, guys. Actually, I'm wearing the shirt now.
Okay, no, I've not heard of. There's so many bloody bands. There's just so many. That looks more like a porno grind logo than a black metal logo, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of. It's like it's like something's exploded.
Yeah, it looks like just somebody's dropped paint.
Yeah.
Which, quite bizarrely, the first version of the Dinenthal logo looked like. That was like, God, nobody can read that. I'm going to have to try and calm it down a bit.
Yeah. The progression of logos through history, someone should write a book on it, I think. Yeah. The ones that look like trees, like fallen trees and stuff like that.
But, some of them are phenomenal. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal.
So your first band was Acherontia Styx, and they're death metal, aren't they?
Yeah,
that was your first band, and then was you already listening to black metal at that point? And
yeah,
right.
I was. I'm in the first incarnation of Acherontia Styx. That was in 2007 when we first got together, and we were very, very black metal influenced. We were probably more black metal than death metal. I would say we played black metal, but in a death metal tuning, if that makes sense.
Right.
And
there is so much crossover between genres now. It's probably the best time. I think it's probably the best time for metal because it doesn't seem to be any metal in the ascendancy, like above all the others. This is like there's fresh bands going on, there's death bands, there's black metal, there's bands that are throwing it all together. So it's absolutely good time. Yeah,
absolutely. I do sometimes think there's way too many genres out there, and
yeah,
in terms of the names like death grind, crossover, punk, new wave. What?
Yeah, what I gets me the most is that things keep being described as post black metal and post linking hardcore. And what the hell is that exactly? What's that even mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't get half of the genres, to be honest.
I think it's just an attempt to sort of create something.
Create something new and bizarre.
Yeah, get people on board. So I think I just say we're heavy metal, and you make out of it what you like.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's what I tried. I mean, while I label myself black metal, I suppose there are a lot of black metal purists out there that would say you're not really black metal because of that and that. You use synthesizers. How dare you?
Yeah. There are some people who get really sort of like genre policing or whatever. They try and say, "Oh, you're not this because of that. You're actually blackened death metal. You're not black metal." And it's like, oh, whatever. Just if you enjoy it, just bloody listen to it, and just make whatever music makes you happy, kind of thing.
To be honest, I think that's important as well. I think it's about, you as an artist just enjoying doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's like, for me, that's what I do. If somebody said to me today, stop making music, I would give it a week and I'd probably be like, I'd just not explode literally, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's your hobby, your main hobby.
I couldn't function. I have to, I have to create.
Yeah, you one of these guys that picks up his guitar every day and like jams for a couple of hours, or
As soon as I finish work, that's the first thing I do. I have at least an hour. Sometimes I write something, or start to write something, and sometimes I just make a noise.
Right.
Sometimes I even unplug the headphones and actually,
right.
let it echo around the house a little bit.
It's kind of therapeutic and cathartic, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
If you can do that, I can't play a fucking thing, so I can't do it. But
some may argue that I can't either, but
I've got a mate here in the chat, GP Venom. I think he's from your neck of the woods. I didn't even know he was a metalhead. I only know him for the comic community. And he's like, so make sure you check out Dinenthal and Acherontia Sticks, GP. They're from your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Right. So how often? How long did it take you to write? Because you're playing every day. How long does it take you to knock an album out? Do you like? Is that how you do? You knock an album out, or do you make loads of songs and then you decide which ones you like the best? Or what is your process before you decide that's an album? That's how I'm going to bring it out.
That's a good question. I kind of. So yeah, I jam every day, and I basically make like a digital version of what would have been a riff tape. Yeah. So I've got a whole load of ideas rattling around in my head, and then I start and stitch them together, and then I'll get a sound that I think, that's okay. I mean, this is like a process of making, say, one song, but then I'll get that together, and that's when I go back and like record it properly. Actually using the proper plugins, making sure the guitar's in tune for a start.
Yeah.
And so that's a process of making a song. But then from that, I kind of just record a lot of songs with the vision of doing an album.
Yeah. So
I might get 30, anywhere between 30 and 50. And then I'll pick seven or 8, or up to 12. I go, I want to release those. I want to do those. I like how they sound, and that's when I'll sort of piece them into an album. We're talking future here. I'm currently working on album number 3, which is going to be called just simply Hell.
Right.
Hell with one L. Hell
right,
with one L, like that.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I've got probably somewhere around 30 songs. I'm looking at only maybe putting 10 on the album.
Yeah.
So the rest will be recycled, and there'll be something else, way off in the future. Everything's recyclable. You can recycle riffs and improve on them. So that's kind of how I do it, really. I just sort of write, record, piece them together.
When you say you have 30 songs, say, for example, is that including lyrics as well? Or you just have the 30 musical pieces, and then you think, well, these are the ones I'm going to use, then I'm going to make up the lyrics for them?
Yeah. It's generally more the musical piece, the musical arrangements more than the lyrics. I do tend to write more lyrics than what I need. I do that as well, but lyrically, I write completely separate from the music. I use them more like a sort of a poem.
Right, yeah.
And so I'll go away somewhere else, away from the music. It's quite weird. I don't know how other artists do it, but I tend to write my lyrics away from listening to the music. So I won't sort of listen to the intonation of the beat. I just sort of write a poem, and then I go back and listen. Right, how am I going to fit that in?
Yeah. So do you say, for example, you've got a set of lyrics, do you go back and then listen to all the different music bits you've got and work out which one it'll work best with? Or do you say, this is the song I'm doing now, and these lyrics are going to fit in there, everyone have to wedge them in with a hammer, they're going into this song?
Kind of like that, yeah. That's kind of what I do. So say, for example, I'm going to do a song, I don't know, we'll throw a random title out there, Apple. So I'm going to do a song about an apple. I'll write a poem based on apple, separately from the music that I wrote from it, and then I'll sit and mash them together. Sometimes I'll rewrite the poem completely. So,
So it fits
you know what I mean? I'll chop words out, add more in.
Yeah.
It's complete. It's a different dynamic to writing with a band. I actually genuinely prefer writing with a band. I just think it's much more creative because you've got the input of the other people. And Grant, for example, is a way better wordsmith than I am.
Right.
So in terms of lyrics, he can really throw a lot in.
Do you sing for the other band, for Raconte Sticks? You sing for them as well?
No.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I have sung on 2 of the tracks that are coming out. I've done a lead vocal on 2 of the tracks, but generally, no, it's Grant. But I do the backing vocals as well for Raconte Sticks.
Yeah.
Less high pitched and shrieky than the
right
Dinenthal.
Right. So you were talking about pagan beliefs. Is it where did you get those from? How did they come about? Did they come about from listening to black metal and it influenced you to look into those things more, or is it a Sartre? Is that the name of the? There's a one.
Asatru, yeah, Asatru.
Asatru. Is that the one you follow, or?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Right.
No, it wasn't through black metal. It was completely separate. I kind of moved into probably my very late teens and early 20s started to move into a more spiritual way of. I was brought up in the Church of England and the Methodists.
Yeah.
But probably like a lot of people, it kind of just didn't speak to me at all. Not that I'm against people who are. No,
but did you believe in God though? Did you believe? I
believe
in God?
I believe in a God, and if not many gods.
Right.
But I sort of I really liked how the Vikings perceived their gods. They perceived them almost as equals, and you would almost trade favors. I will sacrifice this mead for a good harvest. That to me just made a lot of sense, and it's always something that really just fascinated me. And over the years, I've studied more and more on it, and I've been living that way for more than a decade now.
Right. Anyway, so you started studying it, and then you just said, "That's it. This is my belief now." Or yeah. So do you actually do any like rituals or?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely.
Go out into the forest for that, or what was it? You do it from home, or just whatever?
Around the fire is always pleasant. Right. Around the hearth. And
is this a personal thing, or do other people with the same religion as you that you hang out with, or anything like that?
Myself and my wife, we both.
Right. Yeah. So that's fine.
It's cool. Just wonderful. It's just wonderfully peaceful, and like I've always said, anyone is welcome around the hearth. It doesn't matter what religion they are or where they were born. Anyone is welcome around my hearth, because it's, we are trying not to get poetic here, but we're a world of many hands. Let us all, just be together.
Right.
So
inclusivity.
Absolutely right. I mean, there's just seriously no need for wars, is there? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So I'm not religious at all. I'm an atheist, but I think I prefer your style of religion than believing that someone died for sins that happened from like great whatever 100 times ancestors. Somehow they picked a piece of fruit, and that meant that we're all sinners and scum and deserve to be killed. And it's only by God sacrificing himself to himself that we are able to get the kingdom of heaven. It's just like, yeah, all right. Tell me a story that makes more sense.
I've never understood the need for we must live a life of misery to get into the kingdom of heaven. That just doesn't make sense, does it? Why would we want to not be happy? Would God want us? If we're going down the monotheistic route, would God want us to be miserable for our lives? No, don't be.
If he was a loving God as they proclaim, then you'd think that he wouldn't want that, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
And why would he make Satan if to make supposedly all evil in the world? Why did he do that? If he's such an intelligent God who knows everything, why would he create a being that he knew was going to fuck up the creation that he claims to love?
Exactly.
It's this. Let's not get onto that though, because don't want to upset anybody.
Yeah, exactly. But that's one of the reasons though I've not done any songs on Satan. I mean, yes, granted, album number 3 will be called Hell, but it is the Viking Hell.
Right.
But no, I don't believe in Satan either. So I believe in the concept. I believe in the concept of Satan,
right?
But not the
actual biblical Satan. My favourite story that I've learned from Norse mythology, because I've done a Norse mythology theme show as well on my podcast, is Loki became a mare to be shagged by a stallion to give birth to Odin's 8-legged horse. Have you heard that tale?
To be honest, that sounds like the future Acherontia Sticks release party.
That sounds like a wild time. Because there's a couple of stuff that was quite interesting. The word thing meant like a parliament or something. Doesn't like in is it Icelandic or something like that?
Well, I mean, that's the thing with it with the Norse. A lot of the stories were never written. There was always word of mouth, told from generation to generation, until a few times it was written by Snorri Sturluson in the Edda.
Yeah,
but a lot of it was written by the likes of the Venerable Bede,
right,
who himself was a Christian, but he catalogued a lot of things as well.
Wasn't Snorri a Christian as well? Wasn't a lot of? Because I remember reading some stuff about it, and a lot of it was sort of spoken from, I don't know, Christian viewpoints. And there's lots of things where they try and say, I can't remember the bloody words now, but we try and adopt your gods into their god and say that you what you thought was for was actually God, that kind of thing. Right? They kind of replace.
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest.
No.
It's
I can't remember either. I read some stuff like a while ago, but yeah, it's interesting stuff though. These,
absolutely.
Yeah,
I do remember a story of the very, very last population of pagans that were living in, I think it was like the far north of Finland, probably like a very remote part of Finland, and they were so adamantly believing, in the Norse pagan way, that the only way that they could be converted to Christianity was by the Christian monks bringing Jesus as a new god within the pantheon.
Yeah,
and that was the only way they eventually. It's interesting, isn't it? History's fascinating.
The Romans did a lot of that as well. They equated all the Greek gods to their own gods and said, "Oh yeah, you're Hercules. That's just us. You're Zeus. That's just Jupiter. Just, you've got it's the same god, but you call him by a different name." So they was able to sort of get, it was could sound like synchronization or something like that. I can't remember what the word was now, but anyway. So are there any songs in? Because you say you could sci-fi, folk stuff, fantasy, but are there any actual songs to do with your religion and beliefs in your music?
Not at current. No. Potentially on Hell. I'm still in the writing process. The first 2 songs that will come out, I'm hoping to release a single pretty soon, to be fair.
Right.
And that's going to be a double A side, so it'll be 2 tracks off the album. That's going to be called Flail.
Right.
And Born, completely unrelated. They're just
Flail and what?
Flail, as in like
Flail. What was the second one?
Born. Born as in like being born. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I thought you said porn for a second. I thought, what? Flail and porn. That could be like
that's a concept album.
Yeah. Could be like a cover of Hail and Kill by Man of War, but flail and porn.
Sounds good. I'm hoping to release them soon, and
that's the thing with like being very sort of super creative. Like it sounds like you are, and always jamming, whatever. Do you find that you've got too many songs? Maybe you should start another project or something for a different style. Have you ever thought about doing that?
Totally. I mean, like, I mean, if we just briefly talk Dinenthal again, I've got a potential idea for a concept album. It'll be sci-fi based, but it's based on a sci-fi story that I'm currently writing.
Right.
I'm trying to write. I've had this ridiculous idea for a science fiction story for a lot of years, and I've started writing it, and it's coming together very slowly.
Yeah.
But I've got the idea and structure for a potential concept album on that, but that's away in the back burner. Now, I mean, based on the synthesized music that was in the Wayfarer, the edition, and shortly before I did the Wayfarer, I released an EP called a wonderful snappy title, C6H807 Nitgengen.
Okay.
It means nothing until you actually know what that is. But C6H807 is the chemical formula for citric acid.
Sounds a bit like, who was that band that did Drawing Down the Moon? They had an album called something like HVO1. Oh, I can't remember the fucking name of the band now, though. Do you know what I'm talking about? Drawing Down the Moon.
Like a chemical symbol thing.
I don't know what it was. It was a really weird bloody album as well. But yeah, sorry. I digress. Sorry, get on about what you were saying.
No worries. Yeah, so that's citric acid, and Nitgengen is Old English for nightmare. So it would be Citric Nightmare. It's a play on words for a band that is a massive influence of mine, although they're not metal. They're called Tangerine Dream.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely. These guys are phenomenal. I mean, the main songwriter has passed away, sadly, Edgar Furzer. But they've musically been a massive love of mine and an influence. So there's a little bit of that which came into the Wayfarer, and before that in C6H8. Oh God, I've just come up with this. let's just say the Nitgengen album.
All right.
So yeah, it was an EP and it was 4 tracks, and a lot of it's very synthy. It's not black metal at all. It's more weird and just
right, more experimental kind of thing.
So I kind of fused that into the Wayfarer. There is elements of this in. During that writing process, I thought, why don't I actually do something like that? So I've got another project on the go at the moment called DTS Overdrive.
Right. That's synth bass, is it?
It's completely. It's not black metal at all. It's not even metal. It's probably just more rock. It's quite chilled.
It's not dungeon synth then, because dungeon synth is a thing.
No, this is literally true. It's like very true to form of how Tangerine Dream sound. It's that sort of 1970s, old arpeggiators. They custom built a lot of their own synths back in the day.
Okay.
It's that kind of sound that I've tried to recreate him. And so there is actually one album out now. It's called Frosian Dreamscapes 1. Came out, I don't know, about maybe 6 weeks ago or so now. Again, it's streaming. It's available to stream. And I actually brought my old fella into the project. My old dad.
Yeah, cool. Does he like that kind of music? Does he?
He does. He's a phenomenal guitar player himself. Although he's like he just doesn't understand metal. Bless him. He's tried, and he's I hear what you're doing music. I like your music, son, but your voice is awful. He doesn't understand it, but he appreciates the DTS Overdrive stuff. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
So what's he doing so he's doing that with you say?
He's going to be doing that with me. Yeah.
Okay.
So the first sort of album I brought out of that is completely me.
Right.
What's he going to
be playing? Is he going to be just synth as well?
Guitar.
Or guitar? Right.
He's going to mainly do guitar. I mean, he's guitar. He's classically trained where I'm not.
No.
I'm sort of mainly self-taught. He taught me a little bit, but
so was it him that influenced you to play guitar in the first place, or did you listen to
when I was a kid? Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I was 12, I think, when I first picked up one of his acoustic guitars and tried to play. I think it was Knocking on Heaven's Door. When Guns N' Roses had that.
Yeah.
When they had that, I tried to sort of play that. I was around sort of 12, 13 at the time. I tried to play that, and he was like, "No, you're doing that all wrong. Just this is how you make a G chord. This is." I mean, he did teach me, obviously, and
that's good.
But then, predominantly, I'm for the metal side of things. I'm self-taught.
Yeah, right. So you was playing guitar already. You had like acoustic guitar. Then what? Is it the guitar that got you into heavy metal, or did you discover heavy metal and go, "Well, I'm changing the way I'm playing guitar now"? Or
it was kind of around the same time. I think it was probably I discovered heavy metal before I picked up the guitar.
Okay.
When I first, shortly after. Well, I mean, my parents have always been at sort of rock and metal. Well, not metal, but like what they call metal, which is, like Deep Purple and
yeah. The old beginnings, the proto metal.
The beginnings. Yeah, they were very much that Pink Floyd. Massive. I mean, obviously, I'm a massive Pink Floyd fan as well. That's what I listened to growing up, so it was inevitable. I was going to listen to that too, but something just grabbed me with metal when I very first heard metal. Well, obviously I heard like Guns N' Roses, they have sort of more hard rock. But when I first heard Metallica and I first heard Pantera, it was like, this is phenomenal. It just grabs you, completely grabs you.
Iron Maiden was my first band.
Oh, they're amazing. Still to this day, I still love Iron Maiden.
Yeah, I like the older stuff. I'm not so keen on the current stuff they've been bringing out, but you can't bloody knock their legacy and what they've bloody done for
exactly.
Metal. Also, I live in part of London where Steve Harris used to live down the road, like Leytonstone in East London. He was born here, so it's like kind of local lad done good.
There's actually a few of my the company I used to work for. A few of my former colleagues used to work with Yannick Gers. Sorry, no, they didn't work with Yannick. They went to school with Yannick Gers.
I was surprised when I heard. I think I read a book or someone's book, and it was like, they knew Yannick Gers up in Newcastle, and I was like, I thought he was from like Sweden or something. I didn't even know he was.
I always thought he was Swedish. But yeah, he's he actually grew up in Hartlepool.
Yeah, that just blew my mind when I heard that. I just thought they got him from somewhere Sweden or something like that. Right, sorry, this is a stupid question, possibly. When you do your synth stuff, any chance of some theremin in there? I love theremin.
Had this conversation with my wife a couple of nights ago. It's because we're watching the TV, and I forget which advert it is now. It came on, and they say something. Maybe you can play whatever that is. Go, how hard is it to say theremin? It's a bloody theremin.
Yeah.
And at that point, I said, you know what? I'd love to have one of those.
Yeah. I've got no musical ability whatsoever, but I'd love to have a theremin as well. Just see I can try and play some sci-fi kind of sound effects on it. You know what I mean? They're just amazing. Just the weird noise as well, and it's just like it just takes you back to like Twilight Zone and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's cool. the old science fiction.
Yeah, they're awesome. Well, we're coming up towards the hour mark. I don't know what to ask now. Just got on so the Hell album, we were talking about you probably going to put some more of your religion into it. Yes, that's true. And also a book, maybe, you said?
Yeah, I'm trying to write a book. I'm inherently not a great writer. I try to be, but I find the writing process quite difficult. I've got the idea for the story. I struggle to actually get it onto the paper. I struggle to find the words for it. To be honest, I would just love to sit there and talk to someone and like force them to write it for me.
So ghostwriter, you need a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
This is completely. I was going to mention this, but I've just got a book off my friend in Ireland. She's a South African lady, lives in Ireland. Her first EP was called A Sartre, and she's called Lady Axe. And she actually writes, and her latest album that I've just bought off her, it's like a CD, and there's a whole book of short stories based on the different what do you call it, the songs on the CD. So I don't know if you've heard of Lady Axe at all. I'm hopefully going to do an interview of her at some point. But if you're looking for a ghostwriter, you put it to her. Maybe she'll. If you cross her palm with silver or whatever, so she could write it for you. Also, you've got a question from the chat as well. Vild Sister. If you could pick any musician to collaborate with, who would that be?
Ooh, interesting one. Any musician I could collaborate with? I think it would be. I'm going to keep it local. I think the guys from Old Corpse Road. I would love to do vocals on one of their tracks, or at least a part of the vocals on one of their tracks. Those guys are awesome.
I love the choir, these chanty bits, especially the Latin kind of chanting and that kind of thing. I've seen them about 5 times or so. They've come to London a couple of times. Yeah, they're a good band, very decent.
Yeah. Every time I've heard them, I've just thought, they're like, this is totally my kind of. I wish I could play that kind of music, but I can't write that kind of music. If that makes, I could write black metal, but not to that, not to the awesome stuff they do. It's phenomenal.
Cool.
But I would love to do a collaboration with them.
Maybe a split or something. Can you not maybe do a split with them one day?
Yeah, that'd be cool. That would definitely be very cool.
Yeah. I also like to do with the theremin. GP Venom was asking, did they use the theremin on the original Star Trek series? I always thought that they did, but I remember looking it up and it turned out it wasn't a theremin. They used something else to do that.
It's a woman. It's a woman singing, I think.
It's the woman
I'm sure it's a vocal track. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it is.
Yeah. So this book that you were thinking of, what's it about? The book? What's the book? What's the main? Can we get the main like
a bit of a theme? Yeah. It's basically, how can I put it? Like a massive. It's when I say galactic empire, not as in the terms of Star Wars, but it's sort of a massive galactic empire, but it's ruled by two brothers who eventually go to war with each other. There's a huge war. One eventually is defeated, and it's sort of how everything is rebuilt. It's very dystopian.
Right. So sci-fi then, not to do with the.
Yeah, it's very
science fiction one. I'm going back and forth. I'm losing track of what we were saying. I thought this is not one for hell. What was this one for?
This is potentially. I haven't even got a name for that, but I've got ideas and tracks written down for it. I've even recorded some vocals for it, but it's.
So it's another release, possibly for another future or another band, or
or maybe it just never sees the light of day.
That's the thing. Yeah. Too many ideas. I'm always getting. I've had so many bloody ideas, and I've probably acted on about 1% of them.
Honestly, the folders on my computer are ridiculous. It's like I've just got so many folders within folders and versions that it's difficult to keep track of what you've recorded.
Yeah. And what ideas you want to work on next and stuff. So the your Tangerine Dream type band, the vocals on that, or is it just instrumental?
Purely instrumental.
You're not gonna get your wife to do some clean singing.
I would love to.
Have you ever had her on any of your black metal releases? Bit of chanting in the background.
Not yet, but I'm hoping to.
Yeah. Does she know it? Does she know that? Or
I'm not actually sure if she's watching, but if she is watching, she's probably going to kill me. I would seriously love it to. I think she would. I think it would be pretty cool. It'd be pretty cool to have a nice, clean female vocal on there as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I would actually like to do. I wouldn't mind doing a collaboration with maybe getting some guest vocals onto the next album as well. So I'm going to look at that.
Have a word with Lady Axe. What's her name? Bloody Natasha Danzig from Lady Axe. Look her up, mate.
I'm definitely going to look that up.
She does do. She's got very good like high vocal range, like very clean singing kind of stuff. You might find it of interest.
Awesome stuff. Yeah.
I agree. Hopefully, you'll be interviewing her soon anyway. So you can, if you keep I hope you subscribe to my channel.
If I haven't already, then I certainly will.
Okay. Anything? We're coming up to the hour now. Anything else you want to tell anybody? How can they get hold of your music?
Everything's available on online streaming. So it's available through Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, Deezer, Tidal, all the usuals. Hopefully in the future I can get some physical releases out there too. I think that would be awesome to get something on. Especially for the collectors as well. I mean, I am a collector myself. I've got I collect vinyl. So
yeah, I've got a fair few vinyl. I do a few videos about my vinyl as well. It's quite a big vinyl community on YouTube as well. Like people showing off their records and stuff. Give us the links for all those places because so far I've only got the Bandcamp link up on the blog post. If you want to give me the other links, I can put them all in the blog post and people can check out whatever one or maybe I suppose they could just search for it on those those places, couldn't they?
Yeah, I haven't got them written down. I'm terrible. Right.
But if someone went to Spotify or Apple Music and they just put in Dinenthal, they'd find it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're only going to find me because there's nobody else with this name.
You hope not yet. Anyway,
not yet. Anyway.
Yeah, you suddenly discovered there was a '70s band or something like that. We've got the copyright.
No.
Yeah. All right then.
Yeah. Awesome stuff.
Yeah. Anything else to say? Thanks for coming on.
That's all cool. No, thank you very much for having us on. It's been brilliant.
No worries.
I really enjoyed it.
So yeah, hour went pretty quick as well. Actually, that was pretty decent. Also, can I just get you? I keep sort of saying to bands for my podcast, I'm always looking for intros, spoken intros to kick off my show. If you could just do us a quick MP3 of you saying, "Hi, this is Paul from Dinenthal. You're listening to High Speed Hangover podcast," and like whack that in my inbox, and I can start a future podcast with your intro and track. If you could do that for us at some time.
Okay, no worries.
And then thanks for coming on, and thanks for everyone who watched. And the next interview is going to be Thursday with your mate Grant from Acherontia Sticks.
Yes.
So stay on for a bit afterwards. I'll get you to give me all the questions that I can ask him.
Awesome. No worries.
All right. See you, everybody.
Peace.